So far, we haven't had much in the way of hard numbers as far as the Xbox One Scorpio goes. Microsoft announced it at E3 last year with the promise that the system would be able to target 4K gaming, thanks to a 6 teraflops GPU. And that was a pretty ambitious promise. It was the only firm commitment we got from Microsoft about the Scorpio at the time. Since then, we've been left to speculate about what else the system's specs might entail. Reports earlier this year suggested that Microsoft may be using an AMD Vega CPU for the console, and popular speculation has pegged the total memory in the console being bumped up to 12 GB of RAM for the longest time. However, in a new document obtained by Eurogamer's Digital Foundry, Microsoft's plans for the Scorpio are made a bit clearer than what we've known so far. The report by Digital Foundry confirms that the Scorpio will have a 6 teraflops GPU and that developers will be allowed to utilize that power however they wish. The report also reveals that the controversial and contentious ESRAM from the Xbox One design is gone on the Scorpio. Microsoft is suggesting that the increased memory bandwidth of 320 GB per second should be enough to compensate for its absence. The L2 cache also appears to have been increased to 4 times as large. Digital Foundry are also speculating, based on text in the document, that the Scorpio will have 12 GB of GDDR5 RAM. At the same time, there is also some bad news, or what could be bad news. It sounds like the CPU upgrades in the Scorpio may not be in line with the GPU upgrades. According to Digital Foundry's analysis, the original text in the document about the Scorpio suggests that it may just be using a higher clocked version of its existing CPU technology. To be fair, this has not been explicitly confirmed in the document and is just what Digital Foundry is deriving based on the text, but their reasoning seems solid enough. Digital Foundry have also confirmed that Microsoft seemed to be pushing for the same checkerboard 4K rendering and upscaling technique that Sony employs on the PS4. Whether or not this means that the Scorpio may not render each game in native 4K is something that remains to be seen. Now, it is to be noted that the document in question is dated to being right after E3 last year. A remark by Phil Spencer earlier today seems to suggest that Microsoft are only now finalizing the specs and hardware for Scorpio. This means that plenty of changes could have been made to the system's core design since the document was conceived. Whether that could be something as dramatic as an entirely new CPU chipset, for example, remains to be seen. Microsoft will presumably share exact detailed specs for the Scorpio at E3 2017, so we should know then whether or not anything has changed from when Microsoft shared this document with their developers last year. For now, however, it is fascinating to have a clearer picture of the direction that Microsoft are hoping to go in with the Xbox Scorpio. Chapter 3, Chapter 51. Do any of these words trigger you? Do you think Final Fantasy XV's Chapter 13 went through a similarly shoddy treatment and was thrown into the final game without any proper planning? With future updates aiming to change up the final chapter, director Hajime Tabata told US Gamer that the direction for the final chapter was deliberate from the beginning. The direction of Chapter 13's content was a deliberate decision made by the development team. Whatever changes coming will be mostly gameplay related, however. When it comes to the overall playability of the game and not the main plot, updating the game while receiving player feedback will not make the game inconsistent to the development team's vision. We don't intend on making this a completely different game from what we've already delivered to the players. We are making changes in order to deliver a further enhanced gameplay experience for those who have purchased and played the game. But this is not necessarily limited to Chapter 13, said Tabata. We say mostly because some storytelling changes will be made as well. This seems to be regarding the presentation of the plot more than anything else. The story will be easier to comprehend as we strengthen the connection of events surrounding this chapter. Please wait a little while longer until we announce more details regarding the updates, concluded Tabata. Remember when Mads Mikkelsen, known for his role as Hannibal and as the antagonist in Kojima Productions' Death Stranding, confessed to not understanding Hideo Kojima's newest title? Well, Mero Del Toro is sort of in the same boat. Speaking to IGN, Del Toro, who made an appearance in the latest trailer showcased at the Game Awards 2016, confessed that he has no creative say in the project. I'm involved as a character. He's discussed his ideas so I can understand the character, but other than that, I'm not involved creatively at all. This is entirely Kojima-san's game. I think it's going to be a fantastic game 100%, but this is him and his ideas. I'm just a puppet in his hands. My contribution is limited to being a cheerleader for his ideas and being scanned for long hours at a time. That's about it. One of the things that made the original Last of Us such a good game is that Naughty Dog writers didn't hesitate to try to make a statement, not just about the game world, but also the real world. That statement came through loud and clear at the end of the game, so it shouldn't come as a massive surprise that personal politics are likely going to affect how The Last of Us Part 2 plays out. We already know that the game developers are planning an intense story. Director Neil Druckmann has made it clear that writers injecting their personal views of the world are going to continue in the sequel. Druckmann was asked on Twitter in a now-deleted conversation to specifically keep personal politics out of this second game. According to Attack of the Fanboy, he responded, "No can do." Writers work off of their views of the world. For example, the ending of The Last of Us is very much inspired by my personal politics. Count us among those happy to hear this, since those viewpoints are what made the first game so gritty and so good. That'll be it for this video. If you like what we're doing, please go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.